The Handmaid's Tale is a female centered drama set in a dystopian world that is drastically different than our own. Season 1 of The Handmaid's Tale introduced us to a world of Gilead, and Season 2 takes us deep into the ideologies and everyday life of the world built around that indoctrination. Let's break down Season 2 and get to know more about the world of Gilead. To understand how indoctrination and inequity can change human psyche, it's best to turn to the experts. Iris M. Young, an American political theorist and socialist feminist, prior to her death in 2006, served as professor of political science at the University of Chicago and was affiliated with the Center for Gender Studies and the Human Rights Program there. In 1990, she published her model outlining the 5 faces of oppression, first published Injustice and the Politics of Difference. Young's model showed that oppression carries 5 faces: exploitation, marginalization, powerlessness, cultural domination, and violence, all of which are present without remorse in Gilead. Its story and plot was also the complete creation of the showrunners, building and expanding the world of Gilead from the source material. While the show has just wrapped its 4th season, the events in the book are wrapped up in Season 1, making every subsequent season complete artistic license from the show. Not only does the world expand, but so do the stories. While the book touches on and introduces us to a lot of women in the show, like Moira, Janine, and even Serena with more layers and complexity, those who are marginalized begin to fall into that role, unable to break the physical and even mental chains of the injustice they face. Season 2 is a sharp reminder that the cycle of oppression is deep and oftentimes inescapable. And while oppression can be all encompassing and crippling, it can create a different definition and perspective on freedom itself. Moira was always the fighter, the in your face, upside your head, take no punches type of woman. Gilead has made her into a woman who has accepted her fate. In flashbacks, we've always seen Moira as a fighter and a champion of civil discourse. She never missed an opportunity to have her voice heard no matter the cost. It is her enthusiasm and passion for equality that often motivates the ones around her to get involved as well. But in Gilead's patriarchy, even a voice as loud and as bold as Moira's can be reduced to silence. Labeled and cast aside as a handmaid, Moira quickly adapted into fight mode, observing her new world and taking action against her oppressors to escape. She leads a plan with June to flee the Red Center, where more and more women are being indoctrinated into a life of government-regulated sexual slavery, by attacking an aunt, stealing her uniform, and leaving the country with June in tow. They're separated at the train station, and eventually she's recaptured, and after being tortured and abused, she's given a choice: be executed, go to the colonies, or Jezebel's. The location of Jezebel's in the world of Gilead is almost like a Bermuda Triangle of debauchery. Somehow in this world centered on scripture, still somehow manages to sneak in this haven of sin, completely devoid of accountability, and visited by almost every powerful man in the area. At first glance, these women may have a lot more freedom than those that are in the actual society. They're wearing short dresses, high heels, jewelry, makeup, hair down, uncovered. They can drink, they can smoke. However, this freedom comes at a price. When freedom is constructed at the expense of others or at the expense of dignity and further oppression, it's not really freedom.
That just sounds like slavery with extra steps.
Ooh la la, someone's gonna get laid in college.
She laments her role as Ruby, the Jezebel. Her settling into what feels like the choice she made, a choice between a rock and a hard place, and while she is free from the degradation of the red dress, She finds herself cornered in the prison of red lipstick. Seeing June awakens her former self and reminded her of the inner fighter she has, a fighter for her freedom, something that Gilead was happy to take away from her. Emily's story continues with our introduction to the unwomen. The unwomen represent those that Gilead has deemed ineligible for society in any fashion. While a step up from outright execution, being labeled as an unwoman and sent to the colonies where you will spend what will likely be the rest of your very short life being slowly and painfully poisoned by the toxic fumes from the waste they are forced to salvage. For Gilead, these women are the least of them, completely dispensable. But upon closer inspection, and from a different perspective, they may actually be the freest women in all of Gilead. While they toil and labor as punishment for being women, they form their own sort of community and even hold ceremonies, traditions, including a wedding between the two of them, something that would have landed them on the wall outside of the colonies. Emily's journey to and from the colonies is a hard stop for injustice. We get to know Emily more and see how Gilead really changes you. After running over a guard in the city, she meets a wife who is sent to the colonies for having an affair. Emily befriends her and tricks her into poisoning herself, Gilead hardening her world around her. She liberates herself by killing a representative of the injustices that she and other women have faced.
You will suffer. You will suffer. You will burn in agony for all eternity. Every month, you held a woman down while your husband raped her. Some things can't be forgiven.
In the same turn, a Mayday bombing of newly constructed Rachel and Leah Center by June's old walking partner. Remember her?
Used to do yoga classes, spinning or something before, and your man liked to cook. I don't know what you're talking about. You guys had a first floor walk up down Back Bay with a garden. Had yourself a Nordstrom's card, right? I liked anthropology. Yeah? I used to get fucked behind a dumpster just so I could buy a 6 of Oxy and a Happy Meal. I'm clean now. I got a safe place to sleep every night and have people who are nice to me. Yeah, they're nice. All right. And I want to keep it that way. Whatever they did to Stephen, that's not going to happen to me. Understand? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's not too keen on Gilead anymore.
Come back!
Gilead has pushed her to a breaking point as well. This action ripples to the colonies in their effort to replace the deceased handmaids, pulling Janine and Emily back into the heart of Gilead from the colonies. And while she's back in familiar territory, she is forever changed. When she's transferred to Commander Lawrence's home after her previous commander got a much deserved trip to the morgue by heart attack, she hits a breaking point and challenges authority, you could say. In flashbacks, we see Emily as a quiet intellectual, a brilliant college professor, none of which means anything in a world where women aren't even allowed to read. Her pivot shows her anger and resentment of a world that would reduce her and all women to breeding stock. Season 2 also gives us a new character and a new perspective to consider. Eden is our shepherd into the world of a young girl that has lived in Gilead and where this world is all the world that she knows. She enters the story as Nick's new young and I do mean young wife, who enters the show through a Gilead mass wedding. She can't be way more than all of 13 or 14. She believes in the teaching and ideals of Gilead and wants to learn how to fit into this world. She tries to be a wife. She tries to find love in a world where only pain exists. Eden's innocence is a tale of tragedy as she becomes a symbol of sacrifice to the show. How the cycles of oppression hit those who are forced and even those who are willing.
Seems like Eden was hiding a multitude of sins. What sins was she hiding? Serena. She wasn't strong enough. She was 15 years old. Yes, she was 15 years old. She should have been smarter. She was trying to understand God. For fuck's sake, Serena, she was trying to read the fucking Bible.
I know. Trust me, I know. Serena can kick rocks and chew bricks. As someone who's a fervent participator in the cruel tyrannization in Gilead, she is one that relishes in her seemingly elevated role in this world. Serena takes joy, literal joy, in looking down on others for her own personal gain. Despite the effects that it has on her, she is protected with privilege. But in this world where women are inferior, she too only has privilege to a certain point. The birth of baby Holly, or Nicole. No, but June named her Holly. Serena named her Nicole. But Nicole is almost kind of like a tribute to her dad, her actual dad, which is not Fred, by the way. It's Nick. I don't care what anybody says, it's Nick. Yes, I've seen the new season, and I don't care. It's still Nick. But should we call her Holly? I love the fact she named after her mom. Why would you give her Serena's name, even though you're sending her off to Canada to be rescued? Why? Ugh. I'm calling her Holly. The birth of baby Holly, timed with the execution of Eden, has now made the realities of Gilead crystal clear to Serena. This world for a woman, any woman, is not safe. And while her desperation and bitterness drive her to partake in some of the most unspeakable acts, even for Gilead, she seems to crack under the pressure and willingly gives Holly to June so that she may escape being subjected to a life of gender persecution. The same qualities that helped Serena get to the protection and privilege that she has now in her status as a wife are the same character qualities that make her inferior in this world as a woman. While she has not cared to take any action for anybody else who may suffer under this oppression, now because it affects her personally, she becomes empathetic to the idea. This lack of self awareness and empathy for other people is what Serena's driving force to her anger and displacement of her own oppression onto other women, which she feels that she can oppress. Just think of Serena as Karen for Gilead. While she also is oppressed under the same patriarchal system that oppresses every woman in Gilead, the fact that she has a seemingly more privileged role in that same patriarchal society, she gives herself license to displace her anger, bitterness, and oppression onto other people, making herself also an oppressor, as long as there's someone under her.
Ladies, bless you for coming in today.
So what is it that you're going to do?
Thank you again.
What did the others say? Warren seemed open to the idea. I did it to set an example for our daughter.
So you have.
No.
June goes through the most dramatic change this season as she begins to succumb to the terror and subjugation in Gilead. After being recaptured, she wants to remain strong and defiant. But the five faces of oppression are strong in Gilead and are enough to take even June out of her own psyche. June is the embodiment of motherhood in season 2, not only for baby Holly and ensuring her escape to safety at risk of herself, but also for Hannah, the daughter that Gilead stole from her and she refuses to leave without. June's transcendence with her escape from the Waterford house in season 1 comes crashing down as we enter a new chapter in her story. Along her escape route, she meets a family who understandably is very reluctant to assist or even become involved with her escape. And once she is recaptured, they face the ultimate price. The Gilead tyranny is simple but effective. In using violence and subjugation, they make June aware of the powerless situation that she is in and uses it as a warning to others who may feel the stir of rebellion.
The wife will redeem herself by serving as a handmaid. The boy will never see his mother again. He has been placed with new parents, parents who are fit. Gilead has shown them mercy.
She's marginalized from her child, society, and even the rest of the handmaids, where her solitude begins to break her. The indoctrination of season 1 is put on full display as June relinquishes her grip on reality and herself and enters into a downward spiral of self destruction.
Mrs. Watford? Mrs. Watford, I'm worried about the handmaid.
The doctor says that she's in perfect health.
I mean, her mental state.
Her mental state.
Maybe you should take her to see a different kind of doctor.
With each passing scene, the audience is searching for a crack in the Gilead armor. A moment of reprieve for the heroine of our tale to find justice or peace and freedom. We get that chance when Commander Lawrence arranges to get Emily, June, and Holly out of Gilead in a cloak and dagger operation that June sacrifices in order to stay and fight. Starting off the season lost and desperate, June reaches deep into herself to find something that she knew was always there. The threat of loss recalibrates her survival instincts, and she becomes a woman reborn even bolder than before. By the end of the season, June is completely transformed from a fighter to a warrior. Season 2 Chain of Events is a deep dive into Gilead and the human psyche, showing just how transformative a life of control and intimidation can affect and even infect those under the thumb of tyranny, each person experiencing and changing in different ways. While we were getting over the shock of the state of Gilead and the dress code, language, and intimidation factors, season 2 forces us to face the reality of this world through the women who live here. Through their eyes, we witness the subjugation and oppression firsthand, live and in color. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the breakdown on the themes in season 2 of The Handmaid's Tale. I absolutely love this show. I'm obsessed with the show. I love the book. I haven't read the new one yet, but I'm really excited to go ahead and pick it up. If you haven't already, make sure you pick up The Testaments. That's the sequel to the Handmaid's Tale book by Margaret Atwood. It's set in the future in Gilead and actually looks at the lives of some of our other favorite characters from the original book and from the original story years later in the future. I'm excited to pick it up. I'm encouraging you guys to go pick it up as well. And make sure you check out the show on Hulu. Even if you don't want to add another subscription to all of your other subscriptions, I know, I get it. Everybody gives you a trial though, a free trial. Look, take a weekend, you ain't got nothing to do, just bam, 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 watch them in your free trial. You will not regret it. What I will tell you to do is, ladies, if you're out there, maybe don't watch it with any men in the room. You might want to punch them in the face. I'm just saying, I don't advocate for violence, but I'm just saying. Do make sure you understand when you watch the show, it is very intensive subject matter, but I cannot tell you how much I love discussing the show, breaking down the themes, the way it's shot, the actors, the acting, the writing. It's fabulous. I was a little nervous after season 1, seeing as though the events of the book stop essentially at season 1. Everything in season 1 is capsulated in the book. And if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, maybe you know that sometimes when writers, are on their own and the books no longer are there to help guide you, that sometimes art and content, they may suffer a little bit. But this one, it absolutely, in my opinion, it absolutely did not. This show just gets better and better with each season. Season 4 just wrapped. And if you're a fan of the show, if you haven't made it to season 4 yet, my God. All right. It's, woo, just prepare your spirit for it. All right, guys, I'm gonna get off here. Again, thank you guys for stopping by, showing some love. Make sure you stop by our Patreon. The link is in the description below. That way I can keep making more content. I really, really love this, and I hope that you guys love these episodes too. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching this episode of The Breakdown on the themes in season 2 of The Handmaid's Tale. While you're here, subscribe, like, and hit the bell for reminders of when I put out my next video. Make sure you check out the website to see the blog, book reviews, the Me and a Mike podcast, and even more video breakdowns. Drop me a line and let me know what you'd like to see covered next, and follow me on my Instagram at Mickey J. King. The link is in the description and pinned to the comment box below. Thanks again for checking out The Breakdown. Bye!